Hey guys, it's your girl Whitney for Whitney Escapes, and tonight book club author. I'm very excited to talk to her. I was introduced to her recently, and it was a great read. So I hope you guys read it and ready to discuss it. No further ado, let's bring in author Sheena Binkley, and I hope I am saying this correctly.
Oh yeah, you are.
And if you watch the podcast, I don't always be saying everybody's name right, but people know that's just no harm, no foul. So how are you doing on this evening?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. Don't mind me. I always look to my side because I have to pull up my notes because I always have notes. So the first question I always ask people, since you're very new to our book club, please tell the people who you are, what got you into writing, and then when you're done, you can talk about why did you choose this book for us to read this month.
Okay. Well, of course, I am a romance author. I actually just recently celebrated my 10th year anniversary, so it's very
Congratulations.
exciting. Thank you. So I mainly write a lot of from different genres, interracial, African American, just pretty much anything focusing on romance. Um, Now, as far as with this book, Real Love, reason why I chose this for you to read, because I really love this book. I love the characters. It's actually a spinoff from one of my series, Love, Life, and Happiness. So it's kind of like a continuation of the characters, the couple, Rihanna and Sean. So I really love them, and I just wanted to have a continuation of their romance, of their story, because I felt like it was still more to tell.
Well, I absolutely love this story. I really, really did. And I felt like you're reading my mind because if I say this to some of the authors, I'm like, you know what? Why can't we just have a feel good love story? And I love that they were already in a relationship. So I was like, yes. And it wasn't like all this drama, but it was like grown up stuff because like I'm married and stuff. And I said, I don't want to read something about married people, you know what I'm saying, who still love each other, who goes through real life, but still come back and, their love is still strong. And that you embody that in the story. And I really, really enjoyed it. So let's get into it. So I didn't know this was spin-off. I wish, because I was saying, I wonder if he was in another book. And you said, so now I gotta go back. I'm gonna go back because I was wondering that if these characters came from another book, or did you say, "Oh, I'm gonna talk about married people and go from there"? So you said it's called Love, Life, and Happiness. Is that the series?
Yeah. Yes,
And then
it
it's a
is.
spinoff from that series.
Yes.
So how many books did you have?
Well, with the series, it is 7 books. Actually, Rand and Sean are actually the first story, Love Unbroken. So it's a group of friends, but each book is mainly about each couple as you go through their journey. So it's a lot of different spinoffs as well from that series. I have like tons from them. So it's just something about those characters that I think people can relate to. So that's why I feel like it was more to tell. So that's why it's just a boatload of books with them.
Me too, girl. I need to read the rest of this series. That's why I'm asking you the question because if you notice, I'm writing it down. I'm like, oh, 7 books, Love Unbroken. So I will be going back reading the series because I genuinely enjoyed this book. They were getting on my nerves at some point. I'm like, come on, Sean, come on, Rihanna. Like communication, people, is very simple. Like, let's
Oh
just
yeah.
start from the beginning because I was just like, Dominic was getting on my last nerve. But the story starts that was so beautiful with Sean and what's her name? Rihanna, right? Rihanna?
Hmm.
Am I saying it right? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because
Just
I
different
might
spelling,
mess
but
it
yeah.
up. So you could be like, that's not how you say my character. And they do transition through their life. They moved from Texas to Atlanta, which was, big for them. I love that it was like following his dream and his career that was, and she didn't want to do it at first from what we got from the gist of it. But she was a bestseller author, which I love that. Oh, she's an author. Like I love that they were like independent in their careers, but they were still blossoming and growing, and they had like a great love and support for each other. And from what I can get, Rihanna, Jaden is her twin brother.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, I swear she said twin. Like, okay. So I have to make clarification. So Jaden's her twin brother. It was a lot of people in this story. I was like, I'm trying to remember everybody's name. But when they got there, I loved her mom relationship with her. Like, she kind of like knew, like, I know that look. Even when they first got there from moving, and I guess she was having doubts, and the mom was like, no. So tell me how. I feel like because you tell me it's a series, I feel like you're like, well, it's in my other book. So I feel like that's what you're gonna be telling me. So I'm like, okay, this question has to go different because I like you say the first book starts with them, so everything I want to know and believe it's going to be in the other book. So now I'm like, how do I want to do this interview? Because she's gonna be like, well, it's an Unbroken, isn't it? Because I know she went through some trauma. Like it's so many different things that you hit the surface with, but I'm like, either she's writing another book about this, or there's a book that already talks about these things. Am I correct about that?
Yes. And actually, it is all in Love Unbroken. I don't want to give too much away in case a lot of people haven't read it yet. It's mainly something that she went through in high school, and it kind of carried with her throughout college. And she really didn't believe in love after that. So when Sean came along, it was kind of they was classmates. So when they did get together with a school project, they kind of didn't like each other at first, but then later on, if they got to really know each other, that's when the romance actually started. But it was a lot of different twists and turns in that story. So, like I said, I can't give a lot away,
I
but
know. I'm
it
like,
was
I
like
don't
a
want to hear
lot.
this. I don't even want to hear any of this. Like, I'm so mad at you right now, Sheena, because I'm like, oh my God, I should read all these things. Because what I do is, whoever the author, I read a lot. So I have to read your book right before we go live because I'm like, I will get characters confused. Or if it's another book, I'm going to read ahead. So like a lot of times I'm like, I'll tell the author, like, please stop me because I will go on because I want to know. And definitely when it's something that I enjoy, like I really enjoy this, I'm like, I bet there's another story about this, or she's gonna make another story. Definitely when her traumas, because like you're bigger than this. Even when his video came out, there's so many things that I feel like, even the situation with Dominique, because she was, and then the thing is, even I feel like it's probably going to be in one of your other books. So I don't really want to ask what happened with Dominique because I want to read about it. But assuming that you told us about this in your other books, was kind of really makes me kind of more upset at Sean because even though he's a good guy and a nice guy, it just seemed like he was being very naive in the situation when it came with to Dominique. So we know what's his name? Oliver recruited Sean and Dominique to be new anchors. They didn't know about it, but Sean knew Dominique, I think because she moved away or somewhere, and then Oliver got her and like, oh, we went to college together. When they saw each other, oh, that's great chemistry, but he knew that there was some mess with Dominique because when he got home saying that, oh yeah, I met my new anchor, Dominique, Jaden was like, yo, he was not feeling Dominique, and I'm assuming it's in another book, so I didn't want to know about what happened with Dominique. And I'm so mad at Sheena right now because I'm like, I want to ask you that question. So basically, I'm just going to erase all my questions because I know it's going to be in the other book. So she's good. She's going to make us all go back and read all that stuff, and actually going to have me like, what the heck am I going to talk about? But knowing that even if we don't discuss it, we knew that Dominique was a hot mess, and she started a lot of drama and relationships. So for when Sean kind of, like, I understand co-worker, but kind of give us why we made Sean so I like to want to use the word naive when it came to Dominique, coworker or not. It was like he didn't have no type of barrier. He was like, "No, she's my coworker. We should give her a second chance." Can you kind of elaborate, like, why he was just so open to, really giving her the benefit of the doubt, knowing that she did some horrible things that we don't know what it is? And I don't want you to tell me because I want to read it, but without telling me, why was Sean so like, okay, when it came out to her?
Well, I think with Sean, because he is the type of person that is straightforward, I
Hmm.
don't think he will be like, "Oh, I'm not going to deal with you. I know what you did. I'm not going to deal with you anymore." But
Yeah.
I think with him, he does try to see the good in everyone. I
Mm.
think so. That's one of the qualities that a lot of people do like about Sean, especially with Rihanna as well. But I think with him knowing that they also going to be coworkers, he just figure we just need to work together. Maybe I'm gonna give her another chance, see how she is. Maybe she have changed, and we'll just go from there. But of course, as the story went on, she did not change at all. She's still the same hot mess that she was before.
Oh, she was relentless. Like she didn't have no boundaries. I was just like, yo, this chick, she was making me so upset, and I was getting upset with Sean because I understood, like, even though we didn't, me reading this, not having the background, I'm like, okay, we knew that the brother and everybody, even the mom, didn't want to have nothing to do um with Dominique, so that was a big thing. But I did also have another question about 'cause we're gonna piggyback on Dominique so many times because she's a hot mess throughout this whole story. But I wanted to remember to ask you this when it came down to Rihanna and that car purchase. Um, why was she so like gun ho with that? Like even though she didn't, I know she was like, well, I wanted to do something for myself, but does that also have something to do with the bad things that happened to her in high school? So you can like really elaborate on
I think with that, she mainly just wanted to see herself as being independent. Even though she's married, she know that they both have to make decisions together. She didn't want to stray away from her being independent. So I think a part of it was due to her trauma in high school. I think she just wanted just to be able to say, okay, I did this on my own. So I think with her, she still, I want to say she kind of still wants to be, I guess, not in that mind frame that she was in, but sometimes she kind of goes back into that state of mind when she was
that.
before.
I was getting that because a lot of times they were saying, in their stories when they brought up certain things, you could tell she was like, "No, let me think this way," because like we know trauma does stick with people and affect us in different areas
Yeah.
in our lives. So you can definitely tell whatever that situation was. I can't wait to read about it because it's this month. I know it was some trauma, but to piggyback because I feel like I don't want you to tell me anything because I want to read it and I probably like end up like, Sheena, like let's talk because now I read the series and I have these things to go. I do have a question. I know there is another spin-off to this one. Are is this like series completed? So if we go back, we'll be able to like read it all and it'll be like complete even with the spin-offs, or if there's still gonna be more spin-offs.
It is completed right now, but actually, I have been rereading some of the stories. Not only that one, but Believe in Love and also Only You. That is the last spinoff from the series, and it made me think about the characters and how much I miss writing them. So it probably will be another spinoff in the near future with those characters.
Okay, well, since you said you miss writing them, how do you come about writing the series? Like, what made you want to write Love or Broken?
Okay. Um, well, since I have been an avid reader since I was really young, there has been books that I've read previously that didn't feature like me, somebody like me or my friends or just anyone like person of color. So that was one of the reasons why I wrote Love, Life, and Happiness, because it is about a group of friends, all going to college, um, just being able to relive their college days. So that was one of the reasons why I did that series, and just falling in love for the first time for many of the couples that were in all the books. So that was a big reason to why I wrote that particular series. And just to give a little tidbit, with Sean and Rihanna, they're actually inspired by myself and my husband as well.
I was going to ask you that question because in the beginning of this book, you do say, I can't think of it. Did your husband name start with like an E or something like that?
Hmm.
Whatever
Yeah,
your husband
Ethan.
name. See, I remember saying something with the E. You're like my Sean or something. I'm like, ooh. And I was like, I wonder if it's her. I was going to ask you, is your husband an anchor because you're a writer? Like, I was going to ask those questions. But I'm like, so talk about that. How so did you meet your husband like in college? Is this like a nonfiction fiction?
Well, actually, I met him through a friend. It was kind of a chance meeting. It was unexpected. I was visiting her at work one day, and they were actually coworkers. So he seen me. I really wasn't noticing him at first, but from later on, from what I've gathered, he did mention to me that they did have a conversation. He was wondering who I was and everything. So as far as with us actually getting to know each other, um, it kind of just unexpectedly. So my friend, she gave my number to him, and then it just kind of just went from there. So we've been together for almost 22 years now.
Well, congratulations. Hashtag Black Love. We love Black Love on here. I love that. And I was like, and I could kind of see, I was wondering that. I'm like, okay, when she mentioned that, the Sean the anchor thing, and I'm like, okay. And I felt like this was a genuine like love story. Like even though they did stuff that the biggest problem was little lack of communication, lack of judgment. Neither one of them had ill intent to what they were doing. Like Sean wasn't trying to hit up on Dominique or trying to do something behind her back. Even when it came down to Rihanna going through like buying the car or like, you know what, I gotta go home. I can't deal with this. You know, it could have been triggers that we're not aware of, but you could tell that they genuinely had a really deep love for each other. And that's something that I really did appreciate because I just love love. And one thing I could say about reading this story, I felt like finally, I said there could be some other ones out there. I don't know. I have read plenty of books, but when I start finding really good authors that I like, I just read a lot of them, that I add new ones in there. Because you know, if you're dropping so many books, I'm like, there's so many I can read at a time. And if you're like one of my faves, I'm going to go back and read. So I am so happy that you were introduced to me because I genuinely loved that story. I just thought it was like very relevant for right now. That it was just I felt like it's like Hallmark. I love Hallmark, but I don't love that I don't see enough people who look like me on Hallmark.
Yeah.
And your story wasn't like all the drama. Everything, even with Dominique, she was drama, but she wasn't like over the top, ratchet, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I agree
Yes.
on that.
And we do need more successful characters, and that's
Yeah.
what these characters were. And it wasn't something far fetched. I love that they weren't like a rappers or like what the dive was in like drugs, and they're like, you know what I'm saying? It was just a really good. You could tell he worked his way up to become an anchor. He worked in a small town, and he supported her with her writing and stuff like that. So that was absolutely beautiful. I really did enjoy that. But you did mention it in the beginning because I'm going piggybacking about your career and a little bit of the story, but I don't want to know too much because I'm hoping all the viewers read this series because we don't want her to tell us we're readers. We need to go back and read the details. But I do want to talk about. You say you write all different type of genres. What genres do you write besides romance?
Well, I did write urban for a little bit. I was actually with a urban publisher, and that's where some of the spinoffs were actually done by. No Other Love, and One Shot with a Baller. That is where all the incidents with Dominique, Jaden, that's actually the series that everyone would know that whatever happened, what they talked about in Real Love, that's actually what occurred in that series.
Okay.
So those two books were actually part of a like a urban fiction.
Okay. And so you did urban fiction, you do romance, you also mentioned that you do like interracial books and stuff like that as well.
Yes, I do as well. Actually, my first book, In Love with My Best Friend, that was an interracial book. It was a short story.
Okay. And what's the feedback on that? When you talk about the interracial books, I had an author who did an interracial book, and he was like, "Yo, his black readers be killing him." Because I'm like, I said I never thought about that, but I can see that happening because like, we don't want to read. So when people do that, how has been your feedback when you're like, say, you do like interracial books as well? Have it been like good and positive, or people, or does like the community be like, "Girl, we don't want to see um Tanya with Tim."
Well, as far as with that, the feedback, it's all been positive. There hasn't really been any issues. The only thing that I did receive negative feedback on was when I did urban. It was a lot of backlash for that because I guess they see me as a romance author, and then all of a sudden I started writing something completely different, even though I kind of just still stayed the same. It was just maybe some scenes that was a little different from what some readers were probably used to, but I never really strayed away from my writing as a romance author.
Yeah, I don't mind urban. I love romance. The one that I'm not a fan of is like eroticas. I read them, but I feel like I told one author, I'm like, I just feel like every page is like one of these scenes. I love a story, and that's probably why I really love your work. Yeah, some fans can't cope with changes. It's true because
Yeah.
I be judgmental of some of my authors. I'm like, what are you doing? Even like when I talked to another author, Monica, she was just on here last week. I one of her series. I'm like, girl, you about to give me a headache with this, but she goes, this one is totally different because it's off of she mentioned it last week, real life experience where, family members who actually have bipolar and stuff. But then she explained, she said, when I wrote that, it took me years to write these series. You're reading this back to back to back. And I never even thought about like the process that you writers go through and how long it might take you to
Hmm.
write a book. And then like someone like me, I like now I'm learning about you. So I'm gonna go back and just read your catalog. I love like catching up on people's catalogs. Definitely if I enjoy their stories. So you'll probably see me read all your stuff. But I never processed that like I was like, she's like, yeah, I couldn't imagine reading that stuff back to back because it was a lot and it was intense. So that made me even now as a reader to be like, okay, it probably took her like a month or a year to get this book, and I'm reading it and then expecting something else. But I like to see different things in authors. It's just I find out more what I like, what I tend to, read more of. But
Yeah.
some authors who do dibble dabble, like long as like I tell people, I can read a good story, but I like story. So long as you give me enough meat, I'm good. And that's what I kind of love about your book because even when it came down to the intimate scenes, it wasn't just this and it like 5 pages worth of. It was very tasteful. It was, and I love that because I'm like, I want to know if I'm reading something. I don't want to feel like I'm reading porn, which I understand intimacy happens in a lot of books. Because don't get me wrong, I love stories that, of course, you want them to be intimate because that's another level of love. But you did it so beautifully. It wasn't too much. It was just enough. You could tell they're hot and spicy for each other, but it wasn't like, is this 10 a whole chapter? You gave us enough. What you gave us enough background where it made sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I learned that as a reader, I could still read it because I'm still gonna give my honest opinion. 'Cause I'm like, yeah, this is a good story. I feel like some do better than others. But I'm excited to know that most of your catalog is romance because I do want to ask you because I found out recently. and to myself that I enjoy like um new love. Every time I read like high school or college and they're just like kind of finding themselves, I really love those stories. And I'm getting excited because you said that they kind of made like all these characters like me and college. So is it kind of like that new love experience that we're gonna go through? Because older love versus like you finally got a boyfriend, you're going through life. Like when you're describing that versus somebody who's been dating for a while, you know what I'm saying? It's a different experience. Is that what we're gonna be getting from like these love stories with this one in particular?
Yes. Majority of the stories from that series is mainly new love. There is one book that in the series that wasn't really, I guess you can say it was new love, but they kind of knew all along that they were in love with each other. And that is with Brittany and Jaden because they was friends for so long. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, they got into a relationship, but it was just mainly each person, they didn't really want to admit their feelings to each other until
Hmm.
finally they decided to. Well, through a lot of different experiences, though. Right.
I like that. I can't wait to read that one. I love those type of relationships too. Like, you're supposed to be with that person. We just friends. Oh wait, I didn't used to have feelings for him. Oh, she looking good. I love those stories. I hope I'm about to. I'm excited, girl. You have no idea. When I get off, I'm like, let me download all these things right here. they just, it feels good because, like I said, and like you mentioned earlier, when you're an avid reader and stuff, you don't always get books about people who look like you, who really just love one another. Everything, even now on television,
Yeah.
everything with us being melanin people has to be like ratchet. Anything wholesome is only on TV for 2 seconds and it's taken off. Even when you
Hmm.
think something's going to be good, like, oh, this is a good theater, a good plot, and it's like, oh, this totally went left. So I'm very excited that I found you and you found me because I know this is gonna be great. Oh my god, his hot mess self.
Hmm. And yeah, that's true.
It's so true. Johnny was a hot. Let's talk about the hatred in the workplace when new blood come in and people be hating. Tell us about that, and then let us know if you had any personal experience or with Johnny.
Um, I would say I kind of don't, but that's just something that I just feel like, okay, I think people can relate to that in the workplace. Um, I guess I could say maybe at my current job, there was somebody that was older than me that felt like I was taking her job. So that could be one reason. Mainly because I kind of came in, had like new ideals, stuff like that. So she was kind of a little jealous of it. So maybe that's probably where Johnny came in with that. But I was just mainly looking at what different experiences that people may go through in their jobs. And somebody could feel threatened if someone else new came in and just completely kind of just not trying to take over, overstep anyone boundary or anything, but just doing their job. And some people may feel like, oh, you trying to take my job. So with Johnny, I kind of felt like maybe he did go too far, but I kind of can't understand why he would do that because like he said, he was felt like he'd been in the business too long, and someone come in and trying to take over everything. So I kind of can relate to that in a sense, or why he would do something like that.
Yeah, she did.
Yep.
And her quote in the story was so good. She was just saying, "I love my job. I've been doing it for this long. So long as I'm here, I'm happy." She
Yeah.
was very content. And I tell people a lot of times too, and it's unfortunate, definitely because it was a black network hashtag great job that everybody was black and it was a black African American network. When you put that in, I was like, oh, made me pissed off at Johnny, but I love how everybody was black. So I was wondering that. I'm like, is this a regular network or are these people black? And you clarify that when you said they're part of the African American network or something like that in the book. But it also shows too her we all need that attitude definitely as black people when we come in, or you see that a lot too when the younger people come in, the older people feel like even the House and Senate and our government, they've been there for 100 years, and somebody knew everybody want to knock them down. Is that something that also like maybe like inspire you to be like, hey, like how Wendy character was to be, we're all here, we're doing a job we love, we all can
Yeah,
definitely eat because they're getting paid lovely. So why hate? Because not like her paycheck was stopping.
exactly. But I think with Wendy, she was just going with the flow. She just felt like, I'm still doing what I love. So no one's gonna take that away from me. That's just how her attitude was. She didn't really care about the politics or anything. She just wanted to do her job. And I know a lot of people are like that in the business world. So I think that's kind of why I put her in there as well. At least have a level-headed person, and then somebody who just all over the place, which was Johnny.
Yes, he was. And I loved Oliver too. Oliver was a great, like, I'm like, if I had somebody who had to recruit me, I really loved the character Oliver because it seemed like he understood Sean and his placement, even though he was like fangirling his, brother-in-law because he loved Jaden. But like even when he understood, like, maybe you need to go some time with your wife. You know what I'm saying? When she did her book tour, and he felt like he couldn't get away for that. I thought that was interesting. I want to ask you this question since it just popped in my head. And you said this is kind of like you and your husband. Have you and your husband been apart for like long periods of time? Or do you feel like you guys would be like anxious like they were in the book? They couldn't go, what is it, 2 weeks?
Yeah. We really wasn't. We always kind of just been together. We haven't really had like time apart. Um, Actually, maybe probably long time ago, we probably was apart for maybe a few weeks or so, but we kind of got back together. So that's probably the only time I remember. But other than that, we never really been apart.
I asked that because I've been with my husband 17, we've been together for 17 years, married for 12. And I remember when our first time apart, and it was hard for both of us. And you never think it will be, but it was because you don't realize how much that person kind of becomes a part of everything.
Yeah.
And even now with having the travel business, and then my husband, he travels for work, like getting like he's like, oh, I can't, he doesn't like going back to back. All right, it's so weird to adapt, and we're still doing it since today. Like a couple of days, you're like, so I kind of really at first I'm like, but I say, you know what? That's so true because when you get so used to, like, even if it's like your kids or something, they become part of your day to day activities.
Mhm.
Even with trying to go to sleep, like, oh, no one's here. You get so comfortable with that dynamic, and I know it reminded me, like, oh, when we get apart, and definitely when we first was apart, that was very difficult and stressful. So I understood what she was going through, and then finding out on top of that, she got pregnant, and so her emotions all over the place. And I'm just tired. I'm just tired. And then with the scandal with Dominique showing up at the book signing, oh, that girl. I was like, she should just smack her one good time, one good time. But Dominique was very manipulative and clever. She telling all the news reporters where they were. She got pictures. She got, I don't know, even a picture when she kissed me in 5 seconds. Like somebody must have been like clicking away or something. I'm like, how did they get? She thought of every single plot. Even when she went to the book side, because remember he said they both were in a meeting and he couldn't
Mhm.
leave early enough. How the heck did she leave?
That she had
I was,
somebody else do it.
I was like, how did she get out the meeting? He trying to rush to get home because he wanted to be with Rihanna. I'm like, how did Dominique get out this long meeting, get to the bookshop? She been home and left on an airplane. I was like, yo, when you are manipulative and devilish like that, you will find a freaking way because she
Yeah.
was in everything. And even when he called her, no, I did. Do you really? Well, I wouldn't. girl, I was like, this Dominic is getting on my nerves. But I did like how at the end that she resigned and she took accountability and did it nationally, even though it's still, we know, even if you come back and say nothing's going on, people want to have their own prejudged
Yeah.
opinion. But I did like that she was woman enough to go and be like, I messed up. I'm going to do something different. Do you think she's going to have a spinoff? Is she going to find love and get her life together?
Um, I think with her, I don't think I will. Um,
Too
but
much of
actually,
a
that's
mess.
not a bad idea.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking. I thought because how you ended her character, because she was like, you know what? She went on national television to say she's a hot mess, basically. And she finally realizing, um, you know what, I'm doing this wrong. So I was thinking, I said maybe she's gonna have a spinoff where she actually do some, I don't know, therapy or self-evaluation, finally really get her life together and find real love. So I wanted to know, was that going to be something? Because I like that too. I love, we think something so bad about a person and then they finally like, aha, like, or she had a trauma too that we don't know about. I don't know because I haven't read the series, or maybe she does, and she's behaving this way because of past traumas and stuff. Like we don't, I'm like, if we don't know nobody's story, we don't know why they act the way they act. But like the Rita put down there, yeah, do you have a Dominique in real life? Do you know one?
no,
She only know the
no,
good people.
that was just a fictional character. That's someone I just made up. But with Dominique, she wasn't always like that. Um, when she was introduced in, because Monica and Darnell, even though they really wasn't in real love as much, they did have their own story as well. She was introduced in that book, and she really wasn't like the bad girl. She just mainly came one during One Shot with a Baller. That's when all the stuff just started happening with her. And I think that's where the trauma with her really did come in, when the stuff that she encountered in that series. So I think with after all of what happened with her, I think that's when she just completely changed. And you never know, it could be a redemption story for her. I did do one for one character in the book, well, in the series, Nathan, which no one probably really knows either. But I did a redemption story for him. So if I can do one for him, then maybe one day I can do one for her too.
That's good. And I remember you saying previously that you wrote the story like basically like friends. So all the main characters, are they like real people that you're kind of base them upon?
Um, sort of. Um, Now, some of the storylines, of course, it's fiction, but some of the, like the inspiration for some of the characters, some of the personality, the characteristics, it is with my friends, with my cousin, of course, with my husband, because he does have a brother. So that's where Marcus, he comes in. So it's not per se people I know, but it's mainly like some of the characteristics and everything that's it's kind of with some of those characters.
That makes sense. Hashtag, do you have a twin?
No.
But I get it. Like I understand that people do inspire people to, write love stories and stuff like that, even if it's their personalities or different things of that nature. And it's kind of cool to do that, to have somebody like, oh, you wrote this about me, or to pull something off people's real life, because I think that what makes the story also feel really authentic. When you said like this is kind of reminds you of you and your husband. And I can, even I don't know you and your husband, from what I'm reading, I could believe this is a really good, strong love and connection because it really felt authentic when I read this story. And I was like, oh, this is I love their relationship, even though their communication when they didn't make really great decisions. I'm like, come on, Sean, like, and like, yeah, just tell him you don't like it. Like, even though he had great intentions, but I'm like, this could really happen in real life. Like, if you didn't have that strong bond, between Rihanna and Sean, a lot of those things could have went really, really left if she
Yeah.
didn't really trust him and love him and understand that he would never do that to her. Because I'm like, all that stuff looks suspicious. Like him come out the apartment, the kids,
Mhm.
she touching his hand live on air. Like, what in the world going on here? So if their love wasn't strong, and for me as a reader, reading his perspective and her perspective, because outside looking in, it looks crazy. Even when Jaden was getting mad, he's like, "Yo, that's my sister." Like, and he's like, he want to do that to her. But from the outside looking in, I could definitely see how it would look so messy. And from a reader's perspective, we getting all the details of what really going on. So we don't think it as messy, but it just shows that they had a really good love and trust, a really strong trust
Yep.
and foundation, which was really beautiful. So knowing that you write romance novels and that you've been in a 20+ year relationship, what advice would you give like people who read it or people are searching for love, or in relationships that like, what, I don't know if this is working out. What would you like tell them since you're technically an expert, 2 decades, you write about it, you've been in it. So give some of the viewers some of your points that you would or advice that you would give them.
Hey, it does take a lot of hard work. Um, just being able to communication, talking to your significant other, just being able to trust them. That's one of the things that we both kind of had to learn throughout the years as well, especially with communication. But just being able to trust each other and just love each other. So no matter what, um, just be able to support them and just be with them, no matter what.
I agree. I think that's great advice because a lot of times people are like, "How y'all been together for so long?" Because we don't look at divorce as an option. You have to. Oh, we all changing. When you be together for so long, you've been with them through different decades. I was with my husband when I was 19. I'm about to be 40. Like, come on, that's a long time. I'm not a teenager. I'm not in my 20s. I'm almost out of my 30s. So like you go through different life transitions. And like you said, trust is key, communication is key because we all change, we're all evolving. So what we used to like, we probably don't like anymore, or we like new things. And if you're not sharing that with your partner or understanding the dynamic, even in this book, you know, she wanted a baby, then she didn't, then he wanted a baby, so then they find out, like, oh, but then like, no, we'll be good you know, thinking it but never really communicating. Then when it happened, realize, oh, we'll be fine when this happens in our life. But having all that extra stress and nervous, like how is he going to react? What happened? If this is a good timing, which we know we can't plan nothing in this life. Like babies, finances, you can never plan anything to be perfect. But I am going to ask Sheena to put something together for us that we can post how we should read your stories. Because now that we know this is a series, I want to make sure we do read it in the proper order. And because I want to definitely go back and download these books, read them, so I could get a better understanding of everything. Because I honestly really did enjoy this. So I'm gonna ask you that live. So if she don't do it, y'all can say I asked her. And then we could post it on a book club so that the people who have read this, and so many people told me they have enjoyed this because it was just a really good feel good story. I know they'll want to go back and read it, even like the urban ones that's a part of it. But you should like read it like this, so then we could know the flow of it. I really will appreciate that. But we
Okay.
also want to thank you for coming on here because I know time is a commodity that is priceless, and you took time out of your day to come on here and to talk with us, and I do appreciate that. And I will definitely want to have you back when I know the whole series, so I can like ask you all the questions, and I don't want to put nothing like give nothing away, and I don't want you to give anything away. But we really do appreciate you, and I want you to tell all our followers and viewers because we're on like I think 5 different platforms right now live, where they can follow you, how they can support you. Let us know what you have coming up next. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, of course, you can follow me on Facebook. I do have an author page, facebook.com, Sheena Binkley author. I do have my website, sheenabinkley.com. The next book I probably will be working on is A Love Like Ours. That is a another book from another series, Reclaiming What Is Mine, which is pretty good as well. And my current book out right now is through the Forever Love series, which is The Love We Have. So that is a spinoff from another spinoff series, if that makes sense. So if anyone read the Love Chronicles, then that is a spinoff series from that series.
Okay. So basically, we need her to write all this stuff down for us so we know how to follow along. Because she got a spinoff off of a spinoff off of.
Yep.
But I love it because that also shows that people love the story. They want to know what's going on with other people. And so I'm all for it. I love spinoffs because I'm like, I want to know what happens all the way to the end. Like, until they leave this earth, please let me know. Hashtag let's do RIP Tina Turner. I'm so sad. I love Tina Turner. I know that people like said to the end, it made me remind that she left today. And people know I'm a big Tina Turner fan, aka that's my karaoke woman go-to. And I've been doing her songs for like 20 over 20 years now. But, you know, she lived a hefty life. But back to Sheena Binkley. Definitely for this series and anything else, if there's a way, if you can definitely like put something like posted on the book club so they know, hey, this is how you read my series. Because I definitely want to know. So I can know how to read it, but we really do appreciate you. Do you have like a website or IG that they can check out, or is everything on the Facebook?
IG is Siobhan30, and of course my website is SheenaBinkley.com.
So you heard that, guys. You have to support her. She's going to put something together so we can follow this series. And probably on her website, you can see how to read the other series because there's spinoffs on spinoffs. We want to make sure we follow along with her journey. And once again, I want to thank you for coming on here. And everybody, you know, this is your girl, Whitney for Whitney Escapes. You know, next year we have the book cruise. So if you haven't booked, book. Also, you know how to find all your social media platforms. Whitney Escapes everything. IG, Facebook. What I'm on. Twitter. I don't even know on there, but I'm on there. TikTok, YouTube, you know, my website, everything at Whitney's Escapes. We appreciate you again for coming, following us, and joining. Please like and subscribe. And once again, thank you for your time. Bye.
Do you work too much, constantly on the go, miss hanging out with friends, family, or even yourself? Do you ever feel like you need an escape? Whitney's Escapes is here to help with just that. We specialize in family travel, autism travel, group trips, vacations, staycations, and more. So when you're ready for your next escape, make sure you contact us at whitneysescapes.com. Follow us on social media at Whitney's Escapes as well.